Welcome to the Root Cause Revolution podcast with functional and integrative nurse nutritionist and energy medicine practitioner, Audrey Christie.
Hey friends, today we're talking about where to start. Meaning, you were just diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, a chronic illness, whatever it may be. Where do you start? Maybe you are getting more than one. Maybe you got an initial diagnosis and now you've got secondary and tertiary autoimmune diagnoses or chronic illness diagnoses. Today, we're going to talk about what to do first, where to start. Welcome. If this is your first time listening, I'm your host, Audrey Christie. I'm a naturopath, a functional integrative nutritionist, and energy medicine practitioner, and I help women heal. I help you rebalance, find your root cause, rebalance your body so that you don't have to mask symptoms anymore and you can stop fighting. All right, let's dig in. So this actually came from a question from our group, the Women's Wellness Circle. And it was one of our Friday live office hours. And this person just said, where do I start? I've gotten another autoimmune diagnosis. I've read your initial post. I've read your welcome pack. Doctors are not on board with elimination diets. Well, I'm not surprised. So let's just start with saying, I commend you for your stick-to-itiveness. And I want you to use that same stick-to-itiveness that you used in finding your diagnosis and getting a label for your collection of symptoms, to get rid of that label, right? To throw that label away. And often we have such an energetic connection to the label. And I really think it's because we search for so long and then finally we have something to grasp onto to say, yes, this is what I have. But when you start using the term, I am a whatever. I am a psoriasis warrior. I'm a rheumatoid warrior. I am an autoimmune warrior. I am a chronic illness survivor. I have, when you start claiming it, when you start putting I am, the great I am in front of it, you are sealing it in and making it permanent. So you want to get rid of that altogether. In fact, if you have to discuss the actual diagnosis or describe it to somebody, there is a much better way to say it than I am, just from an energetic standpoint. But I want you to use the same fight that you use to find that diagnosis, and it's okay to take a little bit of a break, to fight to get off whatever medications you've been put on, fight to turn your health and wellness around, because it can be done. And you will find that a lot of conventional doctors will tell you, number one, it can't be cured. And maybe not from a conventional standpoint, but your body can rebalance itself so it doesn't exist anymore, whatever diagnosis you want to put on that, right? And it's not uncommon for doctors not to be on board with elimination diets because they don't understand them. And it's not their fault. It's a system that they were trained in, and the system, our medical system, that is quite broken on so many levels. A doctor, in a conventional sense, a medical doctor versus what I do, naturopathic doctor, the difference is that a medical doctor is taught all of these symptoms, what code can I apply to them? What diagnosis can I get so that I can apply a code to it? And then what diagnosis, what pharmaceutical intervention, what chemical formula will then stop the symptoms that this person is experiencing. Now, when they do that, are they stopping symptoms? Oftentimes they are. But since they don't address the root cause, it only is a temporary Band-Aid. It temporarily masks the symptoms. And then when you mask the symptoms for too long without addressing that root cause, then you have additional issues pop up, like this woman who had, like she wrote in, I just have more. Now I have more autoimmune diagnoses. So it's not uncommon, like I said, for doctors not to be on board with you finding your root cause and doing something like an elimination diet. Sometimes it takes someone like me explaining it to them, and sometimes it takes you showing them it worked without asking them permission. Your doctor is there as a counsel to give you advice, and it's up to you to take that advice, research what all of that means, particularly if your doctor doesn't have time to tell you about it, which it happens quite frequently, unfortunately. because they have to see 4 or 5 patients an hour. In order to bill insurance enough to cover their light bill and, their staff bill and their medical school loans and all of those things, it's not possible for them to sit down and explain every last detail and possibility. And sometimes they just don't know. Sometimes they just only know what the drug rep just came in and told them, right? The drug salesperson just came in and told them, like a pharmaceutical salesperson, I should say. And drug rep probably isn't the most common or most recent term for them. It's just back when I was in conventional medicine 20-ish years ago, 15-ish years ago, that's what we called them, right? So again, the reality is that the method that conventional doctors use are really, really good at masking symptoms most of the time, but they don't do anything to heal or rebalance the body so that you don't need those meds anymore. And like I said, it's not the doc's fault. It's the system that they were trained. Now, I don't recommend an elimination diet for everyone. So there could be something that your doctor knows that I don't know, right? And that is important to know. But elimination diets are only temporary. They're only temporary to assess what your food triggers are. Now, instead of doing an elimination diet, you could do a food sensitivity test that would give you the same information, roughly the same information, but much faster and without having to initially eliminate anything. Another option you could do, and this is something that I recommend everyone do. So when you get your diagnosis, I recommend you complete something called a food, mood, poop journal. If you go to audreychristie.com/234, you'll see on the show notes there where I have linked the food, mood, poop journal download. This is something that I give to all my patients. I have them complete in the first 5 days. If you're on my email list, you would have gotten that in what I call the welcome packet. And it helps you to determine what your food triggers are and your drainage pathway status before you make any changes. Because the reality is there are millions of micro changes in nutrition and lifestyle we can make, but each person's are going to be a little bit different. So you take that food, mood, poop journal and you analyze it, or I analyze it, depending on if you're doing a DIY type situation or not. And then you go from there. There might be some laboratory tests to do, but I recommend reviewing your CBC, your complete blood count, your CMP, your complete metabolic profile, as well as possibly doing that food sensitivity test, right? Especially if it's a little bit hard to determine what's going on. And maybe even an organic acids test or a hair tissue mineral analysis to see what heavy metals you might have been exposed to or overexposed to and what your mineral balance is. Now, we take all of those things and put it together to come up with a plan for you. But the first step of that plan is always energy and drainage. So we go back to that food, mood, poop journal. We're looking at things to determine, are your bowels functioning properly? Are you having nice formed stools once to twice a day, preferably twice a day? Are you showing signs of your liver having a little bit of trouble detoxing your body, or your kidneys, or your energy levels? So we're looking at all of these things. These are all first steps to getting started. Now, if you are working directly with me, these are first steps that we go through together, like holding hands and going through it together, right? With all the support in the world. You can do that by scheduling a free complimentary call, and we'll go through what's going on with you, what I suspect the plan will be, give you some good takeaways. Actually, I take that back. It's not complimentary right now because my schedule is so tight. I think I charge $20 for that. And if you continue to work with me, then we take that $20 off. I had to put a little price tag on it because I had a run of people who were scheduling and filling up the schedule and not showing up. So that's my little way to handle that for now. I'll have better ways to handle it in the future, and we'll go back to having the free ones. But now, that's one way to do it. Way number 2 is to go to the Root Cause Revolution membership. You can find that out on the show notes. See the link on the show notes page, audreychristie.com/234. You can go through the Root Cause Revolution membership and you can figure it out yourself. So you watch the classes, you listen to me teach, I give you supplement recommendations, I tell you how to figure out what is causing your issues, and then you apply what you need to do for it. It also comes with live Q&As and free monthly energy healings and monthly masterclasses, in addition to the healing coursework that is already available in that portal. All of that to say, I hope this gives you a really good idea on what to do. First things first, what to do when you get started doctors are really, really good at saving your life in an acute situation. So sometimes people hear me talk about things like this and they're like, whoa, Audrey hates doctors. Absolutely not. You need a good MD when you need a good MD. And so it's nice to have one of those in your pocket that you can have open discussions with that respects what you are trying to do to turn your overall health around. But, if you have a life-threatening infection or a life-threatening injury or a heart attack, then absolutely you need an MD. You need a surgeon. But you also need somebody to come back and say, okay, so why did we have this happen? Even if you have something surgically removed, that doesn't solve the problem. And a lot of people are just under this, have the sheep's wool over their eyes. If you have surgery, if you have PCOS and you have surgery, if you have some sort of inflammation, infection, cancer in your body, and you have it removed, you've only solved a tiny, tiny, tiny part of the problem. You've removed the acute occurrence. So do that, right? If you have to do that, do that. There are some things that I would advocate not to do, like tonsils and adenoids. No need to take those out, those sort of things. But sometimes you have to do what you have to do, but then you have to go in and still find that root cause. Otherwise, it just comes back in a different form. It just finds another organ to settle in, another body system to settle in. But I could go on and on this soapbox, friends. So what I wanted you to do and what I hope I've delivered for you are a few different things to do to get started when you have been first diagnosed, or even no matter when you've been diagnosed, but what to do what to get started when you decide I'm ready to take my health and wellness into my own hands and enough with this, right? So as you know, I am always rooting for you, friends. I'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Root Cause Revolution podcast. Be sure and subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Ratings and reviews are always appreciated.